these memoristic accounts or a collection of jokes, I have the idea. And all these jokes that I use now and that I use for my research, 95% that they were in the 1930s. And this joke is probably from 1936, 1930, second part of the 1930s, about the peasant, because of the Kremlin and because of the stars of the Kremlin. There were more and more images of the Kremlin in very positive, positive light.
A Harvard interview project on the Soviet social system included questions on any political jokes that the interviewees might have heard in the Soviet Union. So this archive, which is now fully online, is actually a very valuable source. David Brandenberger used it heavily preparing his book on Soviet political jokes under Stalin. This way you can actually trace that this is not the late Soviet period, because these people left the Soviet Union during World War II.
Exactly,
So,
exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, I was doing it a little bit sort of, the collection a little bit earlier. So I didn't really, I know about some of the projects and some more recent publications, but yeah, I used my sources, and yeah, and people who left during the war, even if they collected their books in late 1940s, the jokes still are the 1930s jokes, and there are also, you know, there are also some different indications, historical sometimes indications of these jokes. But it is interesting question. Of course, it's very hard it's very important, but also pretty hard to place exactly. And I also spoke. I was at the conferences of humor. I spoke with some people. Some people do not rely completely, do not trust that much the emigre sources. I don't agree. I would trust obviously with some degree of knowledge. There were even publications in the camps in Germany, and most of these jokes were sort of translated in anti-Semitic jokes. I have one of these collections. Xerox.
I think you said that you found that your students sort of got these jokes. Yeah, I find that rather surprising. It is my experience that jokes and humor, sense of humor, do not travel from country to country. I think we've probably all been in situations away from our own country, our own culture, where somebody's told a joke, they crack up laughing, and you sort of just wonder what they're laughing at. Certainly, I think Megan's point is well taken, that you need massive cultural background. For example, your good friend Emil Dreitzer used to tell jokes at UCLA, which none of us got. Because we didn't have his background. He would say, well, don't you find this funny? You see what so I'm a bit surprised at that. It seems to me rather dangerous to launch into jokes at an undergraduate level for this reason. It's quite likely, I would say, that your English-speaking audience will not see what the joke's about, and then you've got to explain the background to this joke. In my own experience, it's not just a language, it really is a culture. When I first went to America from England, the number of times, I found that after a time I just couldn't use British humor. It's a very strange situation to be in, to actually be using my own language, but having people who don't realize that I'm not being serious about that.
John, it took me a while to figure out.
And so that's an example. In the end, I sort of gave up using British humor because you were good friends down there. Simply, well, it's not. They have a different sense of humor. Of course, the Germans don't have a sense of humor at all. That's okay then. Well, anyway, that's my point. Is that you know that this is funny from the background, but as Megan said, you've got to really put in a lot of cultural, historical background so that your students, even sort of slapstick humor, may not travel from country to country. The British like that slapstick stuff.
Actually, John, I have to disagree with you because I've told some jokes. They're not sometimes not formal jokes like the way Boris does it. But when I tell my students funny things about the Soviet Union, they think they're funny too.
They do.
Yeah, you have to have the type of student that enjoys the absurd and likes black humor, and we have a lot of those kinds of students.
And we of course have the whole literature, if it is literature, Master Margarita.
I'm saying you can't just launch into a joke.
This is, no, of course, if it is, if we do it in culture class. Well, to be more specific, I started answering Megan's question. I have this article with some, with some background explanation, with a little bit. It's pretty similar to what I told you here, with some explanation how I think humor works. And this spring, actually, I gave it to class, and we talked about it. Then there was some kind of presentation, a little bit broader audience, with your friend Emil, with me, and with some other people, just because he didn't speak Old Church Slavonic.
It was the worst student I ever had, you make sure you tell them.
Just because he didn't speak Old Church Slavonic, but anyway. And with sort of, I have to report, and that's why I'm kind of here in some way, that I think it does work. I didn't use here any jokes based on puns. I didn't use any jokes that can be translated here. Usually I don't really like to explain puns, although it's also possible. But here I don't really do that, and I think it works. I wouldn't say that, as I said before, that they die out of laughing, die out of laughter, but we do study. We do, and it seems like they enjoy it. Well, with a smile. Well, if you give an A, your system is not A. B for smile, and A for laughter, for
Because-
laughter.
because of
Maybe
others.
that will,
Yeah.
maybe that will work. Okay, and basically fail if,
Very good.
that's, I tell them that sometimes.
What if
Maybe
they just
that's-
don't have sense
maybe
of humor
that's-
at all?
Maybe that's the answer.
It's a good joke.
This is the answer that you expected.
I
But
suppose.
talking about the Soviet, similar things in the Soviet Union, do you know about the competition of the jokes? First, who got the first place, the second place, and third place? No, what the
What the prize was.
The prize
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
Do you know?
Well, with this,
Huh?
not in the Soviet Union, but
Yeah,
I mean,
well, first prize 15 years in camps, and the second is 10, and the third prize 5 with confiscation.
that's what-
5 years. So, but we can translate it into grades and
yeah.
marks in Canada.
I think Terry had a question, and then I have to.
I'm just afraid if we're not too long, we're not.
I think we can take one more question, and then our next speaker is coming to us